believe it? Can you believe it? Can you believe it? So says the ringmaster. Have you ever been to the circus?
Yeah.
Go to the circus, the ringmaster. Can you believe it? Of course, what the ringmaster is talking about some years ago, up until many years ago, the ringmaster was a he. And then, of course, that barrier was broken when we had a young female serve as ringmaster. But the question that they ask over and over again, whether it is at Cirque du Soleil or Ringling, Barnum, Bailey Brothers Circus or Universal Circus, the question that they all ask following some magnificent, miraculous, magnanimous feat that has been performed by acrobats and daredevils and animals. The question that they ask, can you believe it? Of course, they ask the question really as a rhetorical question, because it does happen. We do see the feats. Our eyes are not tricking us. We do see, and we do applaud with amazement at the wonderful things that we witness when we go to the circus. Can you believe it? You know, yesterday, my family, we took the time, as everybody else was doing, you know, going through the mall. We took the time to go to the movie theater. And they bought a ticket for me. You know, usually when we go to the movie theater, I don't know what movie I'm going to watch. They just buy a ticket for me, and I just walk into the movie theater and watch the movie, the ticket they bought for me. And so they bought for me to watch Tyler Perry's Temptation. Not particularly a fan of those kinds of movies. I sat outside while they were watching, and some of you got some text from me. I was sending out texts. That was me sitting in the movie theater, outside of the movie theater, sending out texts. And then I said to myself, wait a minute, they paid for this ticket, and I'm sitting outside of a movie theater. Might as well I go into a movie and watch a movie. And so I kind of walked through the corridors looking for a movie, and came upon this movie, Olympus Has Fallen. I said, well, okay, let me walk into this movie theater. And so I walked into that movie theater. The movie had long since started, based on the time that I walked in. It may have started about an hour or so. I walked in, I said, okay, I'll catch the next hour and a half of this movie. And stood up, I didn't go and sit down. I kind of stood up, that ramp that walks up the side. I just kind of stood there, and I just wasn't sure whether or not I wanted to stay for this movie. And I stood there and I watched this movie. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Here it was, I'm standing there and I'm saying to myself, oh no, here we go, another Rambo movie. Now we all know, and by the way, spoiler alert, if you're going to watch that movie, please close your ears if you're going to watch the movie, okay? Olympus Has Fallen. If you plan on going to see it, just beat me out, tune me out right now, okay? But you know how the movie is going to end. Okay, you know the good guys are going to win. You know that in this movie, the great empire of the USA is going to come through at the last minute. We know that. But it's how they go about doing it that just had me turning around. It had me walking up and down that car and I said, oh, come on, man. I paid money for this. Here you have these well-trained military style folk who have taken over the White House. And here you have one man. They kill everybody. They blow up everything. They're well organized. They're well trained. They have everything down to the T. They have everything down to a science. And you have one man that's left in the White House. And guess what? The one man takes all of them down. Every one of them. He takes down. And I'm sitting down watching this movie. I'm standing up, rather, watching this movie. And I'm saying, oh, come on, man. You can't believe this. You mean not one of them could take him out? It's like they just became bumbling idiots. They couldn't shoot straight anymore. They couldn't think straight anymore. And this one man that used to protect the president and had fallen out, found himself in the hero Rambo position of saving the world. And the truth of the matter is, I stood there saying to myself, can you believe this? You gotta be kidding me. This one man is going to take out everybody. And everybody is riveted to this movie. And I thought about the sermon. Can you believe it? The truth of the matter is that...
Can I just put these away from our communion service? I'm sorry. Thank you so much. I'm very sorry.
The truth of the matter is that the story of the passion and the resurrection of Jesus that we celebrate this day is incredible. It is an incredible story. It's so incredible that the rest of the world really asks the Christian world, you gotta be kidding me. Can you believe that? Can you really truly believe that one man's obedience, that one man's going to the cross, that one man's death has resulted in the salvation of the entire world? Can you believe that?
Yes.
And yet still, that is what the Easter story calls us to believe. That is what the Easter story tells us to believe. That is what the Easter story lets us know has happened, that we are saved because of one man. That we are sanctified because of the work of one man. That we now have a right relationship with God because of the work of one man. Now, truthfully, this question was asked of the disciples. They couldn't believe it. When you look at the story says that the women, having gone to the grave early Sunday morning, didn't find the body, go to the disciples, share with the disciples what has happened as they encountered two angels in the tomb. They go to the disciples and they share with the disciples what has happened. And the Bible says, as you read the story, the disciples did not not believe them. They thought that what they were talking about was idle tale. And that's what verse 11 says. But those words seemed to them as an idle tale, and they did not believe them. The truth of the matter is that if you look at the Easter story, it is a series of unbelievable events. That ask yourselves, can you believe it? I mean, can you believe that Herod and Pilate, who are two political adversaries, history tells us that the both of them knocked heads quite often. That Herod actually was in better graces with the emperor than Pilate. And yet still, here it was that because of the series of events that led them to have Jesus being captured and being brought before the both of them separately, the Bible says that the both of them became friends. Can you believe it? There's a saying that says, politics makes strange bedfellows. Or the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Both of them, at two ends of the political sphere, have come together because of Jesus. Because of the passion and the crucifixion narrative. Think about it. Nowadays, you've got the Republicans and you've got the Democrats can't agree on anything. They can't agree that the sky's blue. They can't agree that water, you can see through water. They can't agree on the simplest of things. Think about it. Think about the possibility of, just think how incredible it would be if the Democrats and the Republicans came together and say, we agree on something. The whole world, the whole country would be looking at this incredible series of events. Here it is. Same thing is happening here. That the crucifixion, that the passion of Jesus has brought together two political foes. The Bible says that they became friends. Can you believe what's happening politically? Can you believe what's happening judicially? Here is Jesus standing before both Pilate, King Herod, even the Sanhedrin. But before Pilate and before King Herod, they have concluded, having tried him, having questioned him, that he is innocent. They bring him before the populace and before the Jewish leaders. Pilate does, and Pilate over and over and over again says, I find no fault in him. Yes. He is innocent. I have tried him, and he has done nothing wrong. Can you believe that you're standing, an innocent man that's standing in front of the people, and yet still the people are shouting, crucify him for his head? Can you believe that rather they would have a man who is guilty? For the story says that Jesus, Barabbas, who happened to also be arrested and captured, himself an insurrectionist, himself a murderer, that the people said, we would rather have him than have an innocent man, Jesus? Can you believe it? We look at the justice system and we are in awe and we are in shock. And when we see innocent people that have been found guilty,
though it happens over and over and over again, it's difficult for us to believe. It's difficult for us to comprehend. It's difficult for us to sit down and we say, how in the world could this have happened? Two people committing a crime. Two people are being arrested for a particular crime. Neither one of them know each other. Both of them say they never heard of each other or seen each other. Yet still the criminal justice system say, no, the both of you committed the crime. Can you believe it? And yet still it happened. Jesus, an innocent man, standing in front of the crowd, and the crowd saying, we want the guilty guy to be set free, and we want the innocent man to be sent to die. Can you believe it? Can you believe what's going on culturally and socially as we read this passion narrative? Because as we read this passion narrative, there are some women that figure prominently in the story. The Bible says that, as I was reading the story, I said, churches are oftentimes packed with women. What will churches do without women? And the truth of the matter is, as you read the story, you realize that the church has always been packed with women. The Bible says, while the disciples ran away, we don't know where they went. They may have returned to Galilee. The Bible says that the women were following Jesus. Read it.
Yes.
They followed him as he made his way to the mount or to the hill called the Skull. They were following him. The Bible says that after while he was there on the cross, and he gave up his spirit, the Bible says that the women were standing in the scene, just looking on at what was going on. And the Bible says that when they took him down off the cross, and they took him to the grave, and they buried him there, the Bible says, guess what? The same women were following, and they were looking to see what was going on. Can you believe it? The writer of Luke identifies these women. He says, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, Joanna, and some other women. They followed Jesus from Galilee. Wherever he was, they were. These women understand now the culture shift and the culture shock that's going on. Because keep in mind, women were second-class citizens in this society and in this culture. But yet still God so ordained it that these women became the witnesses to the salvation and to the greatest event that the world has ever seen.
Yes.
These same women, they were there when he taught. They were there when he healed. They were there when he prayed. They were there when he performed the miracles. They were there when he died. They were there when he was buried. And they were there when he rose from the dead.
Amen.
As a matter of fact, it was so incredible that the story says that these women, when they came back from the sea, here it was on Sunday. They were there on Friday. Okay, Jesus died around about 3 p.m. Friday. It was the day of preparation. It was just before the dawn of the Sabbath. Okay, the Passover, we believe, happened on Thursday, okay, and that's when Jesus with his disciples had the Last Supper, okay. I'm trying to paint the picture for you. Sometimes we ask 3 days, how did the 3 days come in? When, the first day was Friday. He died on Friday. Okay, the second day was the Sabbath that started on Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. That's day number 2. day number 3 started Saturday, Sunday, and ends Sunday, sundown. That's day number 3, okay? And Jesus rose early in the morning on Sunday, the 3rd day. So here it is that the story says that these women, having witnessed where the body of Jesus was laid, they went back and they prepared the ointments and they prepared all of the things for his body to give him a proper burial, because he wasn't buried properly. Because the day was coming, Sabbath was coming, sundown was coming, and the Bible says that that this man took Jesus, Joseph took the body of Jesus and made sure that he would put it in the grave quickly, because he knew that Sabbath was coming. And so the women says, you know, look what, we're going to go prepare the ointments for him. We're going to do that. Okay? And the Bible says that while Sabbath came around, they stopped, because they were observing the Jewish Sabbath day. And so they did like everybody else, they rested. And then Sabbath ends Saturday night, and then they go to sleep. But early, because they were determined that they were going to get to this tomb of Jesus. Early Sunday morning, the first day of the week, the 3rd day, they get up and they run to the tomb. And when they get to the tomb, the Bible says that the stone is rolled away and the body is not there. And they walk into the tomb trying to figure out what's going on. And while they're in there, the 2 angels appear to them and let them know that Jesus is not there. Why do you look for the living amongst the dead? He is not here. Do you not remember what he said while he was in Galilee? Do you not remember that he taught that he was going to die? Do you not remember that he taught that he would be given over to the enemy? Do you not remember that he taught that he would be crucified, but on the 3rd day he will rise again? The women were witnesses.
Amen.
Can you believe this? Can you believe that God is choosing to have women being the primary characters in this story? I tell you what, I think that that's part of the reason why the disciples had a hard time believing them. I mean, read the story. It says that the women came back and they ran back to the disciples, not just to the 12, by the way. There were others. The Bible says and others. There were a bunch of them. They ran back to the disciples and others and said to them, you can't believe what happened. You can't believe what we just experienced. You can't believe what we just witnessed. And the Bible says that the disciples did not believe them. It was unbelievable. Can you believe it? Can you believe that?
Yes.
Can you believe that the disciples, the very people that Jesus had taught, the very people that walked the earth with him, the very people that saw him perform miracle after miracle, the very people who he forewarned and he foretold about his death on the cross and his resurrection, the very people that he told them and let them know that my kingdom is not of this world, the very people could not and did not understand what was going on. They could not believe what their eyes were seeing and what their ears were hearing. Can you believe it? Well, let me tell you what Paul